Hello, and welcome back to Sleeping Gift. Tonight, allow me to share a story to accompany you as you drift off to sleep. Before we go any further, take a slow and gentle breath. Let the calm air fill your chest, then slowly exhale. Release every burden you have been carrying. Let your imagination gently guide you into this story. Now, let's begin the story. Breathe in, breathe out, and let me take you away for a moment into a story. Lying awake under a slow ceiling fan, sleep story for insomnia relief. Before we enter this story, take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Now, it is time for us to step into this journey. The room is small in a way that feels complete, as though nothing is missing and nothing needs to be added. And in the quiet of the night, it holds itself together with a soft and steady patience, like a breath that has learned how to last. Above, the ceiling fan turns. It does not rush, and it does not pause. It simply continues, one slow rotation after another, each blade passing through the air with a faint whisper that folds into the next, a gentle rhythm that seems to belong to the room itself, as if it has always been there, even before the walls were painted and the bed was placed beneath it. You lie on your back, not quite asleep, not quite awake, resting in that space where thoughts come and go without needing to be followed, where the body feels heavy in a way that is not uncomfortable, only settled, only still. The sheets are smooth, lightly cool against your skin, shifting only slightly as your chest rises and falls, a quiet motion that matches the slow turning above, as though the two have found a way to move together without needing to try. Somewhere near the wall, a clock ticks. It is not loud, not demanding, only present, marking time in small and careful steps, each second arriving and leaving without urgency, without weight, simply continuing as the fan continues, as your breathing continues, as the night itself continues to unfold without asking anything from you. The window is closed, but not completely. There is a narrow space where the air slips through, carrying with it the faintest trace of something distant, something soft, like the memory of wind passing through leaves far away, or the quiet echo of a place that does not need to be named. The curtain moves just a little, not enough to be noticed at first, only enough to suggest that something beyond the room is also awake, also breathing in its own way. Though it does not intrude, it does not disturb. It only lingers at the edge, like a thought that chooses not to fully form. The light in the room is dim. A lamp rests on a small table beside the bed, its glow warm and steady, touching the edges of things without fully revealing them, leaving corners soft and undefined, allowing shapes to exist without needing to be clear. The ceiling holds the light gently. As the fan turns, shadows shift, not sharply, not suddenly, but slowly, as if they too are part of the same quiet rhythm, drifting across the surface above you, fading and returning, fading and returning, in a way that feels familiar, even if you have never watched them this closely before. Your hands rest loosely at your sides. There is no need to move them, no need to adjust, because everything already feels as it should, the weight of your body sinking just enough into the mattress, the pillow supporting your head without pressing back, the air around you holding a temperature that does not ask for attention. Another breath, and then another. The sound of the fan continues, steady and unchanged, a soft repetition that does not grow louder or softer, only remains, as if it understands that nothing more is needed, that this is enough. The clock ticks again, and again, and again. Time moves, but it does not feel like movement. It feels like something that simply is, something that exists alongside the quiet turning above, alongside the gentle rise and fall within your chest. The curtain shifts once more, just a little, and then it rests. Everything rests. Even the thoughts that pass through your mind do not stay long enough to take shape. They arrive like faint outlines and dissolve just as quietly, leaving behind nothing but the soft awareness of the room, the fan, the light, the steady presence of this moment. You remain there, in that small bedroom, beneath the slowly turning blades, held in a space that does not hurry, that does not change, that only continues, breath after breath, turn after turn. And the night, patient and unbroken, stretches gently onward. The fan continues to turn above you, just as it did before, just as it has been, each slow rotation folding gently into the next. The sound so soft now that it feels less like something you hear and more like something you rest inside. Your breathing follows its own quiet rhythm, in and then out, and then in again, not needing to be counted, not needing to be guided, simply happening the way it always has, the way it always will, steady and unhurried, like the clock that continues its small, careful ticking near the wall. Nothing in the room asks for change. The lamp still glows with the same warm light, resting on the table beside the bed, its brightness neither growing nor fading, only remaining, touching the edges of the room in the same gentle way, holding everything in a soft, quiet stillness. The curtain shifts again, just a little, and then settles, and after a moment, it shifts once more, repeating the same small movement, as if the night air has found a pattern, a rhythm of its own, something that mirrors the turning above, the breathing within, the ticking beside the wall. You notice the pattern, but only lightly. It does not pull your attention too tightly. It does not ask you to follow it. It simply exists, and you are aware of it in the same way you are aware of your breath, in the same way you are aware of the steady presence of the bed beneath you. The fabric of the sheets feels familiar, smooth, cool in some places, warmer where it has rested against you longer, holding the shape of your stillness without resisting it, without shifting unless you ask it to, which you do not. Your fingers move just slightly, a small adjustment barely there, the kind of movement that feels less like a decision and more like a continuation of something already in motion, as if the body remembers how to settle itself even when the mind has already grown quiet. And then your hands are still again. The fan continues. The clock continues. The curtain lifts and falls and lifts again. The room does not change, but the way it feels begins to soften just a little, as if the edges of things are becoming less defined, less important, allowing everything to blend together into a single, steady presence. Your eyes remain open, or perhaps they drift half closed. It does not matter, because the light is gentle either way, and the shapes in the room are familiar enough that they do not need to be seen clearly. Another breath. In, out. The air feels slightly cooler as it moves across your skin, carried down by the slow turning above, touching your face, your arms, the quiet space around your neck. A light and constant reminder that the room is not still in the way that something empty is still, but still in the way that something alive is resting. The clock ticks again and again, each second arriving without announcement, leaving without trace, forming a quiet sequence that does not need to be followed, only noticed if you choose to notice it at all. The curtain moves once more, the same small motion, the same gentle pause, and then again, it begins to feel like something that has always been happening, something that does not start or stop, only continues, like the fan, like your breathing, like the night itself stretching out beyond the walls, beyond the window, beyond anything that needs to be understood. Your body settles a little deeper, not in a sudden way, not in a way that can be measured, only in a way that can be felt, like a quiet sinking, a soft release into the surface beneath you, as if the bed has slowly learned the exact shape of your stillness. Another small breath, and another. The room remains. The light remains. The slow turning above remains. And in this gentle repetition, in this steady and unbroken rhythm, everything begins to feel simpler, softer, as though the night is quietly gathering all the small movements, all the small sounds, and holding them together in one calm and endless moment. The rhythm continues, as it has been, as it will, the fan turning in its slow and patient circle above, each blade passing through the same space, again and again, as though the air itself has grown used to being moved in this quiet and careful way. Your breathing follows, though not exactly, not in any measured pattern, only in a way that feels gently connected, as if the body and the room have found a shared understanding, a soft agreement to move without effort. In and then out, a pause that is not really a pause, only a moment where nothing needs to happen, and then in again. The sheets rest lightly against you, their surface smooth and unbroken, except for the faintest shifts that come with each breath, each small rise and fall, a movement so subtle that it feels almost imagined, as though the body is floating just slightly within its own stillness. Your legs are still. Your arms remain where they have settled. Even your fingers, which moved before, now rest without intention, without the need to adjust, as if they have found their place and do not wish to leave it. The clock continues its quiet ticking. Each sound is the same, yet not exactly the same, each one arriving with a softness that blends into the next, forming a steady line of time that does not pull you forward, does not remind you of anything beyond this room, this moment, this gentle awareness. The curtain lifts again, just a little, and then falls, and then lifts once more. The pattern repeats, though it does not feel repetitive in a way that asks to be noticed, only in a way that feels natural, like the slow movement of something that has no reason to change. The light from the lamp remains steady. It rests against the wall, against the edge of the table, against the quiet shape of objects that do not ask to be named, softening their outlines, allowing them to exist without sharpness, without clarity, as if they are part of a dream that has not yet fully begun. Above you, the shadows shift. They move with the turning of the fan, stretching slightly, then easing back. A slow and continuous motion that mirrors the rhythm of everything else. A gentle reminder that even in stillness, there is always something quietly moving. Your eyes feel heavier now, not suddenly, not all at once, but gradually, as though the act of holding them open has become less necessary, less important, allowing them to soften, to drift, to rest halfway between open and closed. The room does not disappear when your eyes lower. It remains. It is still there in the warmth of the light, in the faint touch of air against your skin, in the quiet presence of sound that does not demand attention. Another breath. The air moves in. It lingers for a moment, and then it leaves just as gently. Your chest rises and falls. The movement is slow enough that it feels like part of the room itself, as though the entire space is breathing with you, expanding and settling, expanding and settling, in a way that does not need to be noticed to exist. The clock ticks again and again and again. Time continues, but it does not feel like something passing, only something present, something that stays with you in each quiet second, without urgency, without direction. The curtain moves once more, the same small lift, the same gentle fall. It begins to feel like a language without words, a simple and repeating gesture that does not need to be understood, only felt, only allowed. Your body sinks a little deeper, not in a way that can be seen, only in a way that can be sensed, like a soft weight settling into a place that has been waiting for it, a quiet belonging that asks for nothing more. Above, the fan continues its slow turning. Below, your breath continues its soft rhythm. Around you, the room holds everything in place, steady and calm, as if it has learned how to keep this moment from moving too quickly, how to let it stretch, how to let it linger. And in that lingering, everything becomes just a little softer, just a little quieter, As the night continues to unfold without end, the room remains as it is, unchanged in all the ways that matter, holding its quiet shape beneath the slow turning of the fan, beneath the steady glow of the lamp, beneath the soft rhythm of your breathing that continues without effort, without thought, in and then out. The air feels familiar now, as though it has been moving through this same space for a very long time, passing over the same surfaces, touching the same edges, returning again and again in a way that does not need to be noticed to be understood. The curtain lifts, it falls, it lifts again. The movement is smaller now, or perhaps it only feels that way, as if your awareness has softened around it, no longer watching closely, only resting nearby, allowing it to continue without needing to follow each small change. The clock ticks, each second arrives, then leaves, but the leaving does not feel like absence, only like a quiet continuation, a gentle passing that does not take anything with it. Your body remains still, heavier now, though not in a way that presses, only in a way that settles, like something slowly finding its place after a long day of movement, a long series of small and unnoticed adjustments that have now come to rest. The sheets hold you, the pillow supports you, everything feels arranged in a way that does not need to be altered. And in that stillness, something soft begins to drift through your awareness. Not quite a thought, not quite a memory, only a faint impression, like a shape forming in mist before dissolving again. It is a room, not this room, but something similar, something that shares the same quiet, the same gentle sense of being enclosed, of being held within soft walls and dim light. There is a window, a different window, though it feels familiar, as though you have seen it before, without remembering when. The light beyond it is pale, not quite night, not quite day, a soft in-between that does not ask to be named. The memory does not stay, it does not grow. It only lingers for a moment, like the faint trace of a sound heard from far away, and then it fades, leaving behind nothing but the same quiet awareness of the room you are in now. Your breathing continues. In, out. The rise and fall is slower, or perhaps it only feels slower, as if time itself has softened, allowing each moment to stretch just a little longer before giving way to the next. Above, the fan turns, the same slow motion, the same quiet sound. Its rhythm does not change, but it begins to feel deeper, as though it is no longer just above you, but around you, within the space itself, a steady presence that does not begin or end. The shadows move along the ceiling. They stretch, then ease back, repeating the same gentle pattern, a movement so slow that it feels almost still, as though the light and the shadow have agreed to share the same space without interruption. Another faint memory drifts through. This time it is not a room, but a feeling. The sense of lying down in a place where everything is already quiet, where the world beyond does not reach in, where time slows in the same gentle way it is slowing now. It does not bring with it any sharp emotion. It does not pull you away. It simply passes through like a soft breeze through an open space, touching lightly, then continuing on. The curtain lifts again, falls, rests, the clock ticks, the fan turns, your breath rises and falls. Everything continues in the same quiet rhythm, the same steady repetition, as if the room itself is gently repeating a simple phrase again and again until it becomes something you no longer need to hear. Your eyes rest more fully now, not fully closed, not fully open, only soft, as though the effort of seeing has gently faded into the background, leaving behind only the faint awareness of light and shadow. The room remains, the moment remains, and the soft impressions that come and go do not disturb it, do not change it. They only pass through like quiet echoes that do not need to be followed. Everything returns again and again to the same steady place, the same breath, the same turning above, the same quiet night that stretches gently onward, holding you within it without asking anything more. The rhythm remains. It does not shift. It does not ask to be noticed. It only continues in the same quiet way, like a breath that has settled into its natural pace, like the slow turning of the fan above that never hurries, never pauses, only moves as it always has, in and then out. The air enters softly as if it already knows the shape of your lungs, as if it has been here before, many times, moving in the same gentle path, leaving just as easily as it arrived. Your chest rises and falls. The movement is smaller now, or perhaps only softer, less defined, as though the body is no longer trying to be felt, only resting in the quiet function of itself. The clock continues. Tick, and then another. Each sound spaced evenly like footsteps that do not need to reach a destination, only to exist, one after another, forming a steady line that stretches into the quiet. The curtain moves, a small lift, a soft fall, then stillness, and then again. It no longer feels like a separate motion, only part of the room's breathing, a slow and gentle exchange between inside and outside that does not interrupt, does not disturb. The light remains warm. It rests on the walls, on the surface of the table, on the edge of the bed, touching everything lightly, without pressure, without insistence. The shadows above continue their slow shifting, stretching, softening, returning. They do not draw attention anymore. They only exist, like a quiet pattern that repeats so often it becomes part of the background, something you feel without needing to see. Your body is still, and more still than before. Not rigid, not held in place, only settled, like something that has slowly found its exact shape within the space it rests in. Your hands no longer move. Your fingers remain where they are. Even the small adjustments that once happened without notice have grown quiet, as though there is nothing left to adjust. Another breath. In, out. The air feels softer now, or perhaps your awareness of it has softened, allowing it to pass without resistance, without thought. There is a quiet between each breath, not empty, not silent, but full in a way that does not need to be filled. A gentle pause that does not feel like waiting, only like resting. The clock ticks again, but the sound seems farther away now, not in distance, but in presence, as though it has gently stepped back, allowing the quiet to take more space. The curtain lifts once more, falls, rests. The movement is slower, or perhaps it only feels slower, as if time itself has softened its edges, allowing everything to unfold without sharpness, without urgency. Your thoughts have grown faint. They do not form in full shapes anymore, only small impressions that come and go without staying long enough to be followed. A sense of something and then nothing. A trace of something and then stillness again. The fan continues its steady turning. Above, always above. Its sound is softer now, blending into the quiet, becoming part of the same gentle layer that holds everything together. Another breath. Your chest rises and falls. The motion is slow enough that it almost disappears, as if the body is breathing without needing to be noticed, without needing to be observed. Everything in the room continues the same, unchanged, steady. And in that steadiness, the silence grows, not as an absence of sound, but as a presence of calm, a soft and constant layer that rests beneath everything else, holding the fan, the clock, the curtain, your breath, all within it. The silence does not press. It does not surround. It simply is. And within it, you remain, lying beneath the slow turning above, breathing in and out, as the night continues, quiet and unbroken, stretching gently onward without end. The quiet remains, and within it, the smallest things begin to feel more present, not louder, not clearer, only closer, as if the space between each sound has gently narrowed, bringing everything into a soft and steady nearness. The fan turns, always the same, always slow. Its movement no longer feels separate from the room, only part of it, like a quiet current that passes through everything without resistance, without interruption. The shadows above follow, a slow stretch, a soft return, again and again. The pattern repeats so gently that it feels like something remembered rather than something seen, as though the ceiling itself has learned this rhythm and no longer needs to think about it. Your breathing continues, in, out. The air moves lightly, barely touching, barely shifting, as if it has grown quieter too, as if it has learned to pass through without leaving a trace. Your chest rises and falls. The movement is so soft now that it feels like a suggestion of motion rather than motion itself. The clock ticks, a small sound, then another, each one the same distance apart, each one arriving without urgency, leaving without weight, becoming part of the same gentle repetition that holds everything together. Tick, and then again. The curtain lifts, just slightly, and falls, then rests, and after a moment it lifts again. The movement feels slower now, or perhaps it only feels more distant, as if it is happening both here and somewhere just beyond reach, something that continues whether it is noticed or not. The light from the lamp still glows, but softer now, or perhaps your eyes receive it more softly, allowing it to blur at the edges, to lose its sharpness, to become something that simply exists rather than something that needs to be seen. The walls hold that light. The ceiling carries it. The room gathers it gently without letting it spread too far, without letting it fade too quickly. Your body remains still, deeply still. There is no need to move, no need to adjust. The place where you rest has fully accepted your weight, your shape, your quiet presence. Your hands lie where they have been. Your fingers remain at ease. Even the smallest impulses to shift have grown quiet, like thoughts that have decided not to form. Another breath, in, out. The space between each breath feels longer now, though not empty, not stretched, only calm, like a soft pause that does not need to end. The fan continues. The clock continues. The curtain lifts and falls. Everything repeats. Everything returns. Again and again. The repetition no longer feels like something that happens over time, only something that exists all at once, as though each moment is layered gently on top of the last, forming a quiet stillness that does not move forward, does not move back. Your awareness softens. It does not focus. It does not follow. It only rests. The shapes in the room are no longer distinct. They blend into one another, softened by the dim light, softened by the quiet, softened by the steady rhythm that has carried through every moment until now. The ceiling above feels farther away, or perhaps you feel closer to it, not in distance, but in presence, as if the space between you and the slow turning blades has gently dissolved, leaving only the sense of motion, the sense of something continuing without end. The clock ticks again, but it feels like part of the silence. The curtain moves again, but it feels like part of the stillness. Your breath rises, falls, and even that feels like part of something larger, something that does not begin or end, only continues in the same quiet way. The room remains, unchanged, steady, held within this soft repetition of sound and stillness, where nothing needs to happen, where nothing needs to change. And in that gentle, endless repetition, everything grows quieter still, as if the night itself is slowly folding inward, holding you deeper within its calm. The room continues to rest in the same quiet way, unchanged, unhurried, as if it has gently settled into a place where nothing more is needed, where each small motion has already found its rhythm and no longer needs to begin or end. Above, the fan turns, slowly, steadily, each rotation the same as the last, each movement passing through the air with a softness that no longer feels like sound, only like a presence, a quiet and constant circling that remains without asking to be heard. The shadows follow, a faint shift, a gentle return, again and again. The pattern is so familiar now that it feels like it has always been there, as if the ceiling has never known stillness, only this slow and patient movement that does not change. Your breathing continues, in, out. The air moves lightly, almost unnoticed, entering and leaving with such ease that it feels as though the body has become part of the room, breathing in the same way the room breathes, without effort, without intention. Your chest rises and falls. The motion is small, so small it nearly disappears into stillness. The clock ticks, softly, each second arriving in the same quiet way, each one blending into the next, no longer marking time as something passing, only as something gently present. Tick, and then again. The curtain lifts, a slight movement, then it falls and rests. The motion has grown faint, as if the air itself has softened, as if even the smallest movement has begun to quiet, to settle, to rest alongside everything else. The light from the lamp remains, but dimmer now, or perhaps simply more distant, its glow no longer reaching as far, no longer touching each surface with the same clarity, instead gathering close, holding itself near the table, near the bed, near the quiet space where you lie. The edges of the room soften. The walls feel less defined. The ceiling feels farther and closer at once, as though space itself has gently shifted into something more fluid, something that does not need to be measured. Your body is still, completely still. There are no more small adjustments, no more subtle movements, only the quiet presence of weight resting where it is settled, held by the bed, supported without effort. Your hands remain at ease. Your fingers do not move. Even the sense of where they are begins to soften, as if their shape is no longer something that needs to be known. Another breath. In, out. The space between breaths feels wide now, not empty, but open, like a quiet field that stretches without end, where nothing interrupts, where nothing changes. The fan continues. The clock continues. The curtain rests. Everything remains. And yet, it feels as though something has slowed even further, as though the rhythm that once guided the room is softened into something even gentler, something that does not repeat so much as it simply exists. Your awareness drifts, not away, not toward anything, only resting lightly, like something placed on still water, unmoving, untroubled. The shapes around you blur, the light softens, the sounds blend into one another until they are no longer separate, only part of a single quiet layer that holds everything together. The ceiling fan turns, but it feels farther now, or softer, or both. The clock ticks, but it feels like part of the silence. The curtain no longer draws attention. It rests as though it has always been still. Your breath continues, in, out, slow, gentle, barely there. And in this near stillness, where movement has become so soft it almost disappears, the room feels like it is resting with you, sharing the same quiet, the same gentle presence as the night continues, deep and calm, holding everything in a steady and unbroken stillness. The quiet deepens, not in a way that can be measured, not in a way that arrives suddenly, but in a way that settles slowly and gently, like a soft layer placed over everything that was already still. The fan continues above. Its turning is softer now, or perhaps it is simply farther away, its motion blending into the calm, becoming less a sound and more a feeling, a slow and steady presence that remains without needing to be noticed. The shadows it carries are faint. They move, but only slightly. A soft shift, a quiet return, then stillness again. The light from the lamp has grown dimmer, though it has not changed. Only your awareness of it has softened, allowing it to gather in smaller spaces, to rest closer to where it begins, leaving the edges of the room to drift into a gentle darkness. The walls fade, the corners dissolve. Nothing disappears, but nothing stands out. Everything rests in the same quiet balance. Your breathing continues, in, out, slow, even. The rise of your chest is barely felt now, the fall even softer, as though the body has learned to move without disturbance, without weight. The air passes through you as quietly as it moves through the room. The clock still ticks, but it is distant. So distant, it feels like a memory of a sound rather than a sound itself. Tick, and then a long quiet, and then another. The space between each second feels wide, like a calm and open place where nothing needs to happen. The curtain no longer moves, or if it does, it is too soft to notice. It rests near the window, held in place by the same quiet that holds everything else, no longer lifting, no longer falling, only being. Your body is deeply still. There is no sense of needing to move, no awareness of where one part ends and another begins, only a gentle presence, a soft resting that does not ask for attention. Your hands are quiet, your fingers are quiet. Even the feeling of the sheets against your skin is softened, as though the boundary between you and the bed has grown lighter, less defined. Another breath, in, out. The space between breaths feels longer now, like a quiet pause that stretches without effort, without end. A place where time does not move, only rests. The fan continues its slow turning, but it feels like part of something larger, something that surrounds the room, something that does not begin above you but simply exists, steady and calm. The light grows softer, the shadows fade, the shapes of the room blend together until they are no longer separate things, only a single, quiet space. Your awareness drifts further into that space, not away from the room, but deeper into it, as though the room itself has expanded, has softened, has become something you are resting inside rather than something around you. The clock ticks again, or perhaps it only feels like it does. The sound is so faint now that it slips into the silence without leaving a trace. Your breathing continues, slow, gentle, even, each breath arriving without effort, leaving without notice, as though it is simply part of the quiet, part of the stillness that holds everything. The fan turns, the room rests, the light dims, and the night, soft and unbroken, settles more deeply around you, drawing everything inward into a calm that does not change, that does not move, that only remains. The room is nearly still in a way that feels complete, as though every small motion has gently come to rest, as though nothing remains unfinished, nothing left to settle, only a quiet presence that holds everything in place. The fan above continues, though it no longer feels like movement. It is simply there, a slow, steady presence that does not begin or end, a soft turning that blends so fully into the stillness that it becomes part of the silence itself. The shadows have faded. The ceiling is no longer something you follow with your eyes, only a distant surface that exists without asking to be seen, softened by the dim light that now barely reaches it. The lamp still glows, but faintly. Its warmth remains, though it no longer stretches across the room, instead gathering close, holding itself in a small and quiet space beside the bed, as if it too has begun to rest. Your breathing continues. In, out, so gentle now, so quiet, each breath barely felt, like a soft ripple that rises and disappears before it can be noticed. Your chest moves, but only slightly. The motion is slow enough to feel like stillness. The clock is no longer heard, or perhaps it continues somewhere far away, beyond the edge of awareness, its steady ticking softened until it becomes part of the same quiet that fills the room. The curtain rests. It does not lift. It does not fall. It remains in place, unmoving, as though the air itself has paused, as though even the smallest currents have settled into stillness. Your body feels light, not weightless, but gently held, as if the bed beneath you has become softer, less defined, allowing you to rest without pressure, without edges. Your hands are still, your fingers are still. There is no sense of needing to know where they are, only the quiet understanding that they are there, resting as everything else rests. Another breath. In, out. The space between each breath feels wide and calm, like a soft and endless pause that does not need to be filled. Your awareness drifts, not toward anything, not away, only resting. The room is no longer something separate. It is something you are within, something you are part of, as though the boundary between you and the quiet has gently dissolved. The fan continues, but it is not heard. The light remains, but it is not seen. The shapes of the room exist, but they are not followed. Everything is softened into a single quiet presence. The night holds it all, not tightly, not firmly, only gently, like something that does not need to be kept because it already belongs. Your breathing continues, slow, soft, even, each breath arriving and leaving without leaving a mark, without changing anything, only continuing the same quiet rhythm that has been there all along. Nothing moves, nothing changes, nothing asks for attention. And in that stillness, in that gentle and endless quiet, everything remains exactly as it is, resting, steady, and calm, as the night stretches on without sound, without motion, without end. The quiet remains. It does not deepen now. It does not soften further. It simply is, as it has been, as it will be, a steady and gentle presence that holds everything without needing to change. The fan above continues its slow turning, though it is no longer something that feels separate from the silence, only a soft and endless motion that exists without sound, without edge, without beginning. The light from the lamp is faint, so faint it feels like a memory of light, something that lingers without needing to be seen, resting close to where it began, no longer reaching outward, no longer shaping the room. The walls are no longer defined. The ceiling is no longer distant. The space is simply there, soft and open, like a quiet that has no boundaries. Your breathing continues. In, out, slow, gentle. Each breath so light it feels as though it happens on its own, without effort, without awareness, like a tide that moves without being watched. The space between breaths is wide, calm, unbroken. There is no need to notice it, no need to follow it. It simply holds, like the night holds everything. Your body rests completely. There is no movement now, not even the small adjustments that once came and went without thought. Your hands are still, your fingers are still, your whole body rests in a quiet that does not ask anything more from it. The clock is gone from awareness. The curtain is gone from awareness. Even the sense of the room begins to soften, not disappearing, not fading away, but becoming something that no longer needs to be known. The fan turns, or perhaps it has always been turning, or perhaps it is simply still. It does not matter. Nothing needs to be certain. Nothing needs to be held. Your breathing continues. In, out, a soft rhythm that does not belong to time, that does not move forward or back, only remains steady and quiet. There is a gentle sense of being held, not by anything you can name, not by anything you can see, only by the quiet itself, by the stillness that has slowly gathered, layer by layer, until it has become something soft and complete. Another breath, in, out, and the pause that follows feels like it could last forever, not empty, not waiting, only resting, open and calm. The room is no longer separate. The night is no longer distant. Everything has softened into the same quiet space where nothing begins and nothing ends. The fan turns. The breath continues. The silence remains. And slowly, so slowly, it cannot be measured. Even the awareness of these things begins to drift, to loosen, to dissolve, like a thought that fades before it can fully form. There is no need to follow it, no need to hold it. It simply softens and softens and softens until there is only the quiet, only the stillness, only the gentle, endless rest of the night. Where are you drifting over tonight? Let the weightlessness take over your body. If this story helped you find peace, please consider subscribing for more nightly journeys. Sleep well, traveler.